Okay, today's lesson is going to be on slope ratio. So when we have a hip roof, of course, we have our hip going down here, and then we have our common rafter. These are both the hypotenuse of triangles. They are called our line lengths. So what we want to find is, of course, we're going to start with, let's go with a 150 unit of rise, and of course for metric we're always dealing with a 250 run for a unit. That is of course this unit right here, the run of our common rafter, and then of course we have the run, the unit run, for our hip, which is always 353.6, and of course it has the same rise, same unit rise of 150. That's 150, not 156. And so what we need to do is we have to calculate the hypotenuse of each of these to start. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see, what we have is we've got square root. I'll write down here exactly what you should be typing in your calculator, which is what I do. It just makes it a bit easier. So square root, open bracket, 150 squared plus 250 squared, close bracket, enter. And that will give us the hypotenuse for this guy right here. And likewise for our unit of run and unit of rise for our hip, we will write in square root, open bracket, 150 squared plus 353.6 squared, close bracket. So I'll go ahead and calculate those out. Okay, so we have, that ends up being 291.55 for our unit of line length for our common. Now, let's go ahead, since we have that in our calculator right now, what we're going to do is we're going to see how much longer is a unit of line length compared to a unit of run. So we'll take the unit of line length, 291.55, and we'll divide that by 250. And what do we get? 1.1662. So now what we have here is we have our slope ratio common equals 1.662. Okay, so for every measurement of common run, we can multiply that by 1.662, and that will calculate all of our run into the line length of our rafter. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get the unit line length for our hip down. So what is that? 384.1. 384.1. So we'll take that 384.1 and we'll divide that by, we're going to divide this unit of line length for our hip by our common unit of run, and that gives us a slope ratio hip. So we have a slope ratio hip of 1.5364. So now what we have is this. We have two slope ratios. They're both based off of a comparison to our common unit of run. Now, when we do have our slope ratio common, 1.662, we should be storing that in location A on our calculator. And when we have 1.5364, we should be storing that in location B on our calculator. So let's make sure we have that properly. 1.662. I will store that in location A, and then 1.5364. I will store that in location B. Okay. Pretty sure I've got that in there. Why does my... Okay. So now what we can do is this makes life a lot easier for us when we are trying to calculate the line length of our hip or our valley, all from the same unit of run. So now let's do a little bit of an example here. let's say that we have, well, we'll go with a run of 4.2 meters. So we have 4.2 meters, run of our common rafter, which is from here to here. And that is our run. So that is our horizontal distance from there all the way out, our horizontal distance. So we just simply take that 4.2 and we'll multiply that 4.2 by the 291.55. And what does that give us for this particular rafter? That gives us a line length of what do we got there? 6.98 meters. So that is the line length of our common rafter. That's running right down here. 6.98 meters. Okay, great. Now what we'll do is we will use that same run of rafter, which is 4.2. Now we'll multiply that by slope ratio hip, 1.5364. And what do we get? We get, this is for our slope ratio for our hip, so we get a hip rafter, line length of hip equals 6.4528. So this is the line length of our hip rafter. So we take our slope ratio for our common, which is the unit line length of common divided by the unit of run common. That gives us our slope ratio common. We then want to compare the difference for the line length of our hip back to our common run. That way we can simply multiply everything from the common run to either get the line length of our common rafter or the line length of our hip. Okay, we will come back with another lesson soon.